Well, good morning, my friends. It's great to be here with you for this week's devotional. And of course, I hope that you're having a blessed week. This last week, my wife and I celebrated 24 years of marriage. And I thank the Lord for having given me such a wonderful woman to share my life with and to equip me for the ministry. And one of the church members came up to me and said, Erbey, how would you describe the difference in your marriage now as compared to whenever you were first married? How is it different? Where do you see the biggest variance? And there's a lot of good answers to that question, but the one that I most notice is that whereas before, when we had disagreements or discord, we might be angry or upset with each other for 2 days or even 2 weeks, and what wasted time that was because of my inability to seek peace in our relationship. Now today, it might take a couple of minutes and we're already holding hands and we're praying and sometimes agreeing to disagree, or sometimes putting it on the altar and saying, Lord, we'll let you take care of this. And with that being said, I want to read to you from Hebrews chapter 12, verses 14 to 15. Notice what the author says. It says, strive for peace with everyone and for the holiness without which no one will see the Lord. See to it that no one fails to obtain the grace of God, that no root of bitterness springs up and causes trouble, and by it many become defiled. You see, as I talk about seeking peace in a relationship, what I want to tell you is, my wife and I, we're getting ready for this Saturday to present our annual couples conference at New Spirit Baptist Church this Saturday, and we're going to be bringing the art of making up. And my wife and I have had plenty of practice over the last 24 years, and I ensure that. So she says, why are you so difficult? I go, because I want to make sure that we get plenty of practice in forgiving. I'm just kidding. I don't do that for that reason. It's because I fail to implement what God is telling us in these verses. You see, what it says here is that we should strive for peace. That's the first priority. And how often I fail to do that. Let's be honest with each other. How often in our marriage, when we're arguing with each other, the priority in our position is to advance our own position, to make our own argument. How often I would argue with my wife as if I was some sort of attorney and trying to defend my position as if she was the opponent or the enemy. But I'm here to tell you that our spouse is not our enemy or not our opponent. Instead, they're our ally. They're the one that stands beside us through the thick and thin, through the battles. And yet sometimes there can be discord, disagreements because people are imperfect. But I need you to understand that what the author here is saying is that when you have discord in your relationship, your priority, your focus should not be to defend your position or to stand on your rights and privileges. No, what it says is if you're truly in a relationship of love, you should set those things aside and make peace the priority. So strive for peace. That means that's what you should be seeking. And I think that's one of the biggest differences in my relationship today than before. 10 years ago, my wife and I committed our marriage to Christ, and I think that's one of the things that he showed us. But notice also verse 15, how the author continues by saying this, see to it that no one fails to obtain the grace of God, that no root of bitterness springs up and causes trouble, and by it many become defiled. Of course, when he's talking about people failing to obtain the grace of God, he's talking about people who don't achieve the relationship with God that will result in salvation. But I think it's also noticeable when he talks about the grace of God for you and I to think about how grace is given to us. Because I think that sometimes we can shortchange people on grace. And here's what I mean by that. If you and I have been forgiven by God, everything, and now our salvation is made complete and secure by Christ, on what grounds do you and I stand in insisting on our own position and refusing to bestow grace upon other people? And if I were to give advice to any couples out there and say, and they were to ask me, Erbey, what do you think we need to do more in our relationship in order to strengthen it? I would say practice more grace. You need grace. You need to demonstrate grace and forgiveness, because that's the demonstration of the fruit of love in your relationship. Not insisting on your own thoughts or opinions, not trying to defend yourself, or not seeking justice for your own terms, but bestowing that grace upon other people, not shortchanging people that grace that God has given to you and I. Because the grace that has been given to us was not meant for us to wallow in and enjoy for our own selfish needs, but rather it's a grace that was meant for us to share with others so that they can know that the love of Christ exists in our hearts. And so I want you to meditate and pray on these things. And if you're in a relationship, whether it be with your spouse or with other loved ones or family members or whoever, where maybe grace is lacking, or maybe there isn't peace, I encourage you on this day to meditate on these words and remember, as you seek to restore that relationship or make amends, remember the priority is peace. Don't lose the war because you're insisting on the battle. Remember, God has done everything for us already through Christ. And because of that, there's nothing more important than the relationships that God has given us. And that we need to insist on those things, because if we insist on peace, we insist on grace and demonstrating that restoration, God will bless us for that. That's the demonstration of the eternal salvation that we already have. Those are the fruits of the Spirit. May you be blessed by this message. And until next time, my friends, God bless you.